Hey YouTube, Tom Hewson with Tom Hewson Photography here, and in this video I will be going over all of my camera gear. Right now is a little bit of a special time for me because I will be trimming some of the fat, so to speak, of my camera gear. So right now I have all of the gear with me, so I just decided to make as quick of a video as I can on all of my gear, all the essential stuff. So I'll first start with my camera. I have the Nikon D90. This has the battery grip on it. That's why it's so large right now. This was a amazing camera. Still is. It has been surpassed by the D7000. However, it was still being made and sold while the D7000 came out for at least a year and a bit. So that just shows that it has withstood the test of time in terms of the technology arms race. It was an amazing camera for where it was positioned, and now it's super cheap. So if you're starting out in photography and want a very good camera, it's slightly outdated in terms of its ISO performance. However, nothing else about it is bad in that sense for beginning your photography gear. So if you can find one of these used, I would highly recommend getting the D90 because it is a amazing starting camera. However, there was a couple things about it that I kind of outgrew, one of them being ISO performance. Another was it's not weather sealed, and it is a full polycarbonate body, which means it's completely made of plastic. And I have recently upgraded to full frame. I now have the D600. I have refrained and restrained myself from making a unboxing of this camera because I know that there's a couple out there and you probably already know all of the specs on this camera. So I just thought that I would use it for a bit, get a really good first impression of it, and then make my initial review of the camera just so that I'm actually going over its performance that I've used it with instead of all of the specs and what I'm excited about. So I will tell you it is a spectacular camera so far, as I'm sure you would have assumed. However, I will be making a video on that shortly because I have used it enough that I think I can shed some light on it. And one of the main reasons I'm doing some swapping of gear is because of this upgrade to full frame. I don't need some of my lenses anymore, but I will go through all of them right now. So without further ado, we have the 35mm f1.8G. This is a great lens. It's very sharp. It's optically very nice. However, the build construction is fairly cheap. However, that's because it is a DX lens and it is targeted for the consumer level. So that's okay. It makes it cheap, not expensive, and very lightweight. I'm not sure if I'll keep this lens or not because it's not my favorite focal length and it is DX. However, I might still keep it to use on my Nikon D90. Next up, we have the 50mm f1.4D. This is a amazing lens. This is a phenomenal lens, actually. The bokeh is spectacular, and on a crop sensor on my D90, it is a 75mm equivalent, which is amazing for portraits. It's almost at the 85 level, which is to me the perfect sweet spot for portraits. However, I have taken some amazing portraits with that lens and I love it. The bokeh is outstanding. And speaking of the 85mm, I have the 85-14D. Again, the D version, I just like the build quality of them better. I hate this lens hood, but it, in terms of performance, outperforms any of its just old school shortcomings. So that is a spectacular lens. I love it. It's built like a tank. I highly recommend it. And the new one is very good, the 1.4G. However, it's very expensive. and I love how this lens looks. I love how it's not nano crystal coated. And another lens that is built like a tank and is probably the unsung hero of the Nikko lineup is the 105 Micro VR28. This is a macro lens, and it is outrageously sharp. This is a phenomenal lens. It is actually really cheap. When I got it, it was roughly new, so it was fairly expensive in terms of what it is now. It's dropped about $200 probably. This is a phenomenal lens. If you want a very, very sharp lens and you like doing macro work, this is the lens for you. It is an amazing lens. I've taken some very good photos with that. I do have a video of my review of this lens, and the VR is super handy, but again, you can watch that video. I won't go through it all now. So because I have switched to full frame, I have had a transition of zoom lenses. The first, back in the day, my tried and true 11 to 16 millimeter Tokina f2.8 DX lens. This was and still is an amazing lens. This was the best ultra wide angle zoom you could find for a DX camera, which is why I got it. I believe it still is. This is a spectacular lens. I loved it a lot. However, it is very specific to very large landscapes, as well as you can do architecture with it. But I found that it was very narrow in its range. I've read reviews where they joke that it's almost a prime, like it just moves 5 millimeters. And because of that, it was a little restricting just to have at the start of my photography lineup, because it is a very narrow range. And it got knocked off its pedestal by the 17 to 55 2.8 DX lens. This is the, it's a jack of all trades. However, it is the closest DX wide angle zoom lens to being a master at those trades that you can get. So I wanted the best zoom range in this focal length for DX I could get, and this was it. It's weather sealed, it's got the gold ring, it's an amazing build quality, it's a spectacular lens. I love this lens very dearly. However, because I was switching to full frame, this lens won't do me the same justice. But I love that lens, and if I didn't switch to full frame, I'll be more than happy to have that lens for the rest of my life. It was the only lens I took with me to Arizona and Utah, and I had no regrets that that was the only lens I brought. It did everything higher than my expectations. And because I switched to full frame, I now got the 16 to 35 f4 VR. This is a spectacular lens. Again, same deal with the D600. It is new. I haven't used it too much. However, I have used it enough to say that it is a very good lens. I do miss 2.8 in my wide angle zoom. However, I will be mostly using this for landscapes, so that's not an issue. Very good lens. The VR is useful. Same thing with the macro. It's nice to have. You never know when you might need to turn down your shutter speed to slightly ridiculously slow speeds and have to still get a sharp image from it. So those are all of my lenses. I will be selling my Tokina and my 17 to 55. So I just thought I would make this video to go over all of my gear when I have all that. As well, I still have my SB900 as my main light, which is a spectacular flash, does everything I need and then some. And then I have my SB600, still a very good flash, does probably most things you would need. However, it just doesn't have some of the features that I really wanted with my flash. One of them being ease of use, but you can watch that in my comparison video I made on the two. An accessory that I felt that I would throw in here, I usually personally don't like seeing gear reviews where there's like 2 million accessories people use. However, if you like that, then it is useful. I will keep my accessories to 2. First being my Lee filter system, because that's upside down. Lee filter system. I got this for Arizona. I have the 3-stop graduated neutral density filter, and it's a soft grad, so it's a soft gradient. It's outrageously useful. I think a lot of my shots from Arizona would slightly be a lot worse if I didn't have that, because it allows you to get better exposed photos between your sky and your foreground. And if you've ever been to the desert, you know that you have a lot of blue sky and it's very bright, very sunny. The other accessory I wanted to highlight is I shoot with the SanDisk Extreme Pro SD cards. I have 3 of these that I got for Arizona. They're 16 gigs. I got these so that I didn't really have to worry that I would lose any photos if a card broke or whatever could happen. I just wanted the most sturdy card I could find. And I've been using SanDisk since the start, and they're tried and true, so I trust those cards. So that is all of my gear that I'm going to go over. I hope that helps. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to help you out. And again, you can follow me on Twitter. I have my website down below and my blog as well. And if you want, I will start putting my photography Facebook page because that is where I usually do most of my updating if I'm not in the mood for making a video. So again, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. And I will talk to you guys soon with my review of the D600. Ciao.